What if I told you America's greatest president was once called too ugly to lead, too poor to matter, and too weak to win? Sounds like the setup for history's worst motivational poster, right? And yet, this awkward, self-educated boy from a one-room log cabin would go on to save the United States from tearing itself apart and change human freedom forever. But here's the strange part. He almost gave up, more than once. So how did a man with almost no formal education, multiple crushing failures, and deep personal depression become the president who redefined America? To understand that, we have to go back to a freezing Kentucky winter in 1809. Tiny log cabin. No electricity, no wealth, no political connections, just hardship. This is where Abraham Lincoln was born. His family was poor, very poor, and life on the frontier was brutal. Imagine trying to become president when your childhood resume basically says, can split wood, occasionally survives winter. Not exactly Ivy League material. His mother died when he was only 9 years old. That loss changed him forever. He became quiet, reflective, and painfully aware that life could disappear without warning. Books became his escape. But there was one problem. He barely had access to any. So he borrowed every book he could find, sometimes walking miles just to get one. He read by firelight at night. He taught himself law. He trained his mind while the world expected him to stay ordinary. And this is where greatness often begins. Not with talent, not with privilege, but with hunger. And Lincoln was starving for knowledge. Lincoln entered adulthood with ambition and immediately started failing. He lost jobs. His business collapsed. He fell deeply into debt. He ran for office and lost. Then he ran again and lost again. At this point, most people would have updated their LinkedIn and quietly disappeared. Not Lincoln, because every defeat sharpened him. Then came love. He fell deeply for Anne Rutledge, and when she died suddenly, Lincoln shattered. Friends feared for his life. He sank into severe depression. For months, he could barely function. This wasn't the polished hero history books often show us. This was a broken man asking if life was worth continuing. And yet, he kept going. That's what made Lincoln extraordinary. Not perfection, persistence. He understood something powerful. Pain can destroy you or deepen you. And Lincoln let suffering make him wiser, kinder, more human. This emotional depth became his superpower. Because leadership isn't about pretending strength, it's about understanding struggle. And no one understood human suffering better than Lincoln. That's why people trusted him, why his words carried weight, why when he spoke, America listened. Still, his biggest test was coming, a test no president had ever faced. A nation on the edge of collapse. By 1860, America wasn't just divided, it was combustible. And Lincoln was about to light the match. Not intentionally, but inevitably. When Abraham Lincoln won the election of 1860 United States presidential election, Southern states panicked. Why? Because Lincoln opposed the expansion of slavery. And for many powerful interests, that was unacceptable. Before he even took office, states began seceding. The Union was breaking apart. Imagine getting hired for a new job, and on your first day, half the company declares war. That was Lincoln's Monday morning. Then came the American Civil War, the bloodiest conflict in American history. Over 600,000 dead, cities destroyed, families shattered. And through it all, Lincoln carried the weight of the nation. He was criticized constantly, called incompetent, weak, a tyrant, too slow, too radical, too soft, too harsh. Basically, if social media existed then, Lincoln would have needed therapy and airplane mode. But he stayed focused. Because he wasn't chasing popularity, he was preserving something bigger, the American experiment itself. Then came his defining moment. January 1st, 1863, the Emancipation Proclamation. With one document, Lincoln transformed the war. It was no longer just about preserving the Union, it was about freedom. This was not politically easy. It was dangerous, controversial, explosive. But Lincoln believed America could not remain half free and half enslaved, and history proved him right. Then came perhaps the greatest speech ever delivered by an American president, the Gettysburg Address. Just 272 words. That's shorter than most YouTube sponsorship segments. Yet it changed how Americans understood democracy forever. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. Those words still echo today, because Lincoln reminded America what it was supposed to be, not perfect, but always striving toward freedom. And finally, the war ended. The Union survived. Slavery was dying. America had a chance to heal. Lincoln had done it. He had saved the nation. But history had one final tragedy waiting. April 14th, 1865. Just days after victory, Lincoln attended a play at Ford's Theater. He wanted one night of peace, one breath after years of war. He never got it. He was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth. The next morning, America woke to heartbreak. People wept openly in the streets. Even hardened soldiers cried, because they knew they had lost more than a president. They had lost a moral compass. More than 150 years later, Abraham Lincoln still stands as the measure of American leadership. Not because he was flawless, he wasn't. Not because he never failed, he failed often. Not because life was easy, it was brutally hard. Lincoln matters because he proves something timeless. Greatness doesn't come from where you start. It comes from what you endure, what you learn, and what you choose to fight for. A poor boy in a log cabin became the man who preserved democracy itself. And maybe that's the real American story. Not privilege, not comfort, but possibility. And if Lincoln could rise from darkness to reshape history, what might still be possible for us? That is why Abraham Lincoln may truly be the greatest U.S. president of all time.